Hi, everybody. This is Travis with the Berm Show. This is a podcast where active duty military members and veterans can share their stories, their experiences transitioning from active duty military life into that of a veteran. So please follow, subscribe. Thank you. All right, there we go. Cool. Yeah, that's certainly true, though. I mean, because there's guys now that, weren't much older than I was when I was in, I guess. They're probably a couple years older than me. They're now like chiefs and senior chiefs in the Navy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild to think, like, fuck, I remember when you were an E3 and E4, and now you're telling people what to do. Like, that's fucking crazy. Part of me thinks that sometimes. I'm like, you guys are running divisions? Like,
yes.
It's kind of sketch.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those, like, yeah, we're all just kind of like older children, just kind of running. Like they stayed in it long enough. Like we got the culture piece down, and maybe they've refined some skills that we had. Like obviously them staying in it, but the reality is that they're the same more or less like the same people. They're the ones that are running the show now because everybody else is like aged out of it, or they left.
Yeah, because there is like I don't know, like I was talking to my best friend about this a while ago. Like I don't know how it would have been if we would have stayed in. Like, or he got out a little bit, or like 8 years after I did. But it's like, man, that trajectory of that lifestyle, I'm not sure how long I would have been able to sustain. Maybe it would have chilled out as you get older, I guess. It would have kind of simmered down, But it's kind of a crazy lifestyle being in the military. Everything seems super fast compared to life outside of the military. Once you get like a good job and you kind of settle down with your family and like things slow down. But man, it seems like it's always just fast paced.
Because everything's changing though,
Yeah.
Like when you're in the military, and it's definitely a culture that is far more like celebrated, and you don't get paid a lot, so you're definitely not doing it for the money, right? Like including a deployment, right? Unless you're up there, but once again, you got to do your time. But when you're in the military and you're 18, you're like, hey, look, you're going to go to this base. You're going to get this training. And then 3 months later, you're going to go to this base and you're going to get this training. And then you're going to go to this base and you're going to do this training. So in a period of like 6 months, you could go to 3 different locations, meet hundreds of different people, different food, different like routes. You know what I mean? Like just even going from barracks to the classroom or something. This is before you even hit the fleet, right? You hit the fleet and same thing. Now you're meeting new people. You're learning like who's got the keys. How do you like solve this problem? You have an issue with this. You're going to like maybe you're prepping to go on a workup, deployment, field exercise. Like, it's like there's almost like no ceiling. You just keep going and then you're moving up in rank, and then that brings on a new set of challenges. And now maybe you got like a team. Now, you went from sergeant to staff sergeant. Now you're in the staff section, right? Civilian side, for sure, it's like an adjustment, and there's definitely like a sense of freedom and a gluttony of choice. Mm-hmm. But it can be kind of like paralyzing. I think it's because they it's to me it's like ironic that when you're in the service you have like so little freedom and choice, but you feel like you could conquer it all, or like you could kind of move in all these directions. But when you're in the civilian sector, you really feel like you're kind of like you get kind of pigeonholed. I have to do this job because if I don't, I'm not going to make any money. I need to keep the lights on. I have to go to school. I have to use the post 9/11 GI Bill to like keep food on the table, or like get a career in this thing because it's going to pay this amount of money. Like you're like missing these. You feel like there's less sense of security or safety. So you really like dig yourself in.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on the phone
last
before.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. I never thought of it from that aspect though. Like, yeah, comparing the two, yeah, they're the same and vastly different because, like you're saying, it is really fast paced. I mean, people are in and out, like on a ship, even like that person's done their 4 years of sea duty, so now they're gone. Like people are just constantly in and out, and you do get pigeonholed on the civilian side of things. Like you can get stuck doing something like we've talked about that you hate to do because you do have different things that you have to do. Like you're saying, you have to provide for a family, keep the lights on, food on the table. So you sacrifice more, I think, as a civilian
Yeah.
side of things when it comes to what you want to do. I feel like kind of like what you starting your own business that we'll jump into, like doing that sacrifice, like you give up all this stuff versus I feel like in the military, it's strictly time. I feel like that's possibly what you give up is time away from family, friends. You miss a lot of things, birthdays, Christmases, holidays, whatever it is, versus when you're outside. Yeah, you get more time to go do those things with your family, but man, you get stuck doing something that you probably don't want to do. Where
Yeah.
when you join the military, I think most people join because they want to. That's kind of
Yeah.
maybe a generalization because, like you say, you don't get paid that much to do it.
Right.
So there is some
Yeah.
aspect of you that wants to join the military, whether
Yeah.
you
I think
whether you
there's
hate it or not. Eventually,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. You bring up a really good point. It's just that like that dichotomy between when you're in and you miss a lot of things, right? For sure. Like I've known guys that miss their child being born on deployment and it's their first child, right? Or birthdays, anniversaries, parents passing away, you know what I
ooh,
mean?
yeah,
That I saw quite a few of that when I was in. And when you're out of the civilian sector, presumably you don't have that same kind of stress or that same kind of like lack of control. Maybe it's because when you're in, it's like we all know it's a very like socialistic kind of viewpoint, but when you're in, boy, you know that like there's no higher power than, like the mission first, right? I have to do this job. People were relying on me to do this job. You could be a cook, a pilot, it doesn't matter. Like everyone, it's this unity, it's a core, right? Like everyone is relying on somebody to do their job in whatever fashion. You could be a comptroller. You could be the one like dispersing, right? Doing the payments to airmen, Navy, Marines, whatever, right? Like you have an important job, and trust me, people are going to raise hell if they don't get paid,
oh yeah,
right? So it is kind of an interesting sort of thing, and maybe it's because like in the civilian world, it just doesn't matter. And I hate to say that, and I know that sounds like kind of sort of like fatalist, but like the reality is for so many, just the like that honor and prestige and sense of worth and purpose and value in your job just no longer exists in the civilian world. Not always,
yeah.
not
I'd,
always.
I'd say most. I bet you most people would agree with that, though.
There's definitely rewarding jobs that you could have,
Yeah,
in the civilian sector for sure. A police like law enforcement, uh, a teacher, for sure,
yeah.
right? But it's not as like sexy or like super like an accountant. You know what I mean? Like, did
Oh
you
yeah.
close the books? Did you reconcile that general ledger? Did you tie everything out? Like, you didn't? No, I didn't. Like,
Oh
oh,
man.
well, I need you to do it. Like, okay, yeah, right on. All right, yeah,
Yeah, that's God. I feel like that sometimes when I'm doing like when I'm data mining.
yeah,
It's like looking through reports and reports and reports, pulling up just stupid. Sometimes I'm just like, what am I even doing right now, man? I've been looking at these reports for like 30 minutes.
yeah.
Like, I
And
don't
let's
know.
say you get the answer, and then what? Like, what's the translation? Like, what's going to happen? Are you saving anyone's lives? Are you making anyone's day better? Is it
Exactly.
like the actual return on investment at the end of it? You're like, man, I wasted 4 hours worth of work, or like 4 hours of daytime to get this one job done. And at the end of it, like, what does it really translate into? Maybe an extra sale for sure. Maybe I made this person's day. Hopefully, at best, realistically, like, it's not going to have much of an impact on your like income.
My cat's like, "What the heck are you doing in here, dude?"
Yeah, let me out, man. Yeah, cats are interesting creatures for sure. Yeah, those are the issues I have with it. So I think you just definitely need to be like true to yourself and find your passion.
Yeah, that's. I mean, very true. I mean, that's where we get to you. You recently got your MBA. You're graduated.
I did.
Yeah, and then you've taken on some challenges also recently. So
Yes, sir. Yeah, I did graduate in well, recently they had the graduation ceremony, but back in December I got my MBA, and it feels good. Um, do I think that if you have an undergraduate degree already in business, is it worth your time and effort to get the MBA? I mean, if you're not paying for it, 100%, absolutely go get it. Like, it opens up far more doors than if you didn't have it, and your earning potential is significantly higher because our society puts a lot of value, on it. But realistically, like, how much more did I learn? A marginal increase at best. If I had to pay the $120,000 for the degree, I probably wouldn't have it. Probably wouldn't be worth it to me. Realistically, like, a lot of business is just done face to face. Like, and at the end of the day, like, what makes most businesses successful is, at like, if you're lucky, it's either like a pain or a gain. Like, I solved a way to do this faster or better or cheaper than anybody else, and I could like own the market on it. Or I'm making a product that a lot of people, I mean, it's basically the same thing. Like, a lot of people would benefit from. Like, is it a pain or a gain? Like, am I giving you something that's better, or am I relieving something that's worse for you, right? Or like, and like, outside of that, you have to just like have the grit. You know what I mean? Like, you have to like be the person to figure it out and do the work, make the calls, know the people, have like a contrarian idea, be right about it, and have discipline to follow it through. Very few people are like legitimately super successful without those things.
that's true. And then, like, it's funny because, like how you're saying about getting your MBA, though. I remember when I transferred to Long Beach State, they did like your orientation and stuff, and the gentleman, the professor I was holding that, he even said, he's like, today a bachelor's is more like a high school diploma than what it used to be. It doesn't carry as much weight. So that's where it is worth it to get that master's. I mean, you can't constantly have to separate yourself from your peers, because now today everybody does, for the most part, have a bachelor's. So how do you stand out from your peers? Well, you go get your master's.
Absolutely. If in fact it really depends on your career path, though, right? Like, if you're trying to differentiate yourself from your peers, yes, I agree. The higher up you go in like the educational path, there's going to be like more like the vetting process is going to get smaller and smaller. Like, the group is going to get smaller and smaller. However, like, does it necessarily like equate to higher levels of like happiness or success? Like, not necessarily. I mean, I know plenty of people that just have a bachelor's and are doing incredible, like they're making $250,000 right now. And I know people with masters that are looking for jobs, so like, sometimes it comes just down to networking. Sometimes it comes down to the person, and it depends on the career path too. Like, if you're looking to work for like the big four, like the accounting firms, like, Ernest Young, like EY or PwC or uh, uh, um, Accenture, right? What's really more consulting, but um, yeah, a master's is for sure going to give you a leg up over your competition. But if you're trying to be an electrician or a plumber or something like that, like it doesn't like those credits don't translate really
Correct.
well,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It's crazy
And
because
you can
like,
make a great living in
oh yeah,
those fields too.
I mean they're needed from
They
what
are.
everybody says. You know, like the trades have kind
They're
of
never going to go away.
yeah, but I guess I saw something saying like the folks that are getting involved in trade skills though have diminished like tremendously over the last couple of decades because they're not glamorized as much as
They're not, but you could also make. So I remember hearing about this. I used to be in construction. I was a laborer for a time, and I learned a lot. Like I legitimately did learn a lot. Like I learned how to read a tape measure, and I know that sounds like silly and trivial, but like I just was like, it's 2 inches, you know what I mean, or like it's 2.5 inches. It wasn't like that's 72 inches and like 5/8, and like understanding a blade takes a 16th of an inch off, and like how to use like a speed square and everything else. Anyways, so those are really good skills to learn. But they had talked about this back then too, and they're like, it used to be a thing that a lot of men would do over the summer, like in high school, because they would make good money. You'd make like $18 an hour as a laborer over the summer, and you'd save it up, and it'd be enough for you to like buy a car or have money throughout senior year or something like that, right? And the reality, and this is back in 2015, the reality is like even back then, people were realizing that I can make just as much money or more doing something else. And a lot of that was like social media driven. I can make a comparable amount of money playing video games and video streaming it, doing a podcast, you know what I mean? And I can make money doing that, like side hustles, without having to be out in the blazing sun, throwing away bricks or something like that. So it's just humans are going to follow the path of least resistance. We're like electricity or water.
it's very true. I mean, yeah, the social media aspect of things too, like making money that way. Because like I just recently hired somebody who has a master's degree, was a teacher, freshman at the freshman level, and I talk to him all the time. Like, man, like how come you're doing this? Like he does grunt work for me basically. He's
Yeah.
a general laborer, and he was telling me he's like, well, kids today, they don't listen to authoritative figures. And he's like, especially if they got social media accounts. He's like, there's a couple kids I'd have throughout the school year that had a couple thousand followers, so they're getting some type of notoriety and some type of little shindig type deal. He's like, so they don't care what I have to say. Like they're making money and they're 14 years old. They don't like, screw you, teacher. Like I'm making probably more than you are. So he's like that respect factor just is gone. He's like, it just made me not want to teach anymore.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that's kind of sad. I like that's but that's probably kind of like the way things have trended, I'd say, at least like you're saying, since 2015. I mean, you hear all these kids now and on YouTubes and social media or Instagram, they're killing it doing that at super young ages.
I think it definitely puts those teachers at those ages, like middle school and high school, in really awkward positions. And those have historically probably been the hardest ages to teach. But and I don't really have any other rebuttal other than that. That's just a tough job, straight up. That's a tough job. But like if you're at community college or you're a 4-year or a 2-year, like, dog, why are you showing up then? Like, why are you here? You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I think that it, once again, like that gets vetted out, and that concept that they have, like that arrogance. You're like, shit, man. If it's that easy, hopefully it works out for you, because it's probably, like, realistically, it's probably not going to be sustainable in the long term.
Oh yeah, I don't think so. And it's
like OnlyFans with girls, women. Like, for how long?
when I first heard about that, I was like you gotta be kidding me that people are
Yeah,
making like
a
six
lot of money.
figures or a
Yeah,
couple $1 million a
yeah,
year.
they're millionaires. Yeah,
Yeah, for like doing. I'm like, whatever, man. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if I could morally ever do that to myself, but
No, yeah.
it's like good for you, I guess. I mean, if you
If
want,
if once again, like if hey, look, if that's how you want to run, like it's hey, look, it's your body, your choice. If
yeah,
that's the life that you want to have, hey, that's on you. Like I have no agency over that. I would say that like hopefully you're thinking ahead or you have a good investment strategy. Like and there's only very few that will make it that far, like what you're talking about, six figures, millionaires. Hopefully you're investing that money good because realistically it probably won't be there forever. And it's going to be pretty hard in like the world of public opinion, before I get canceled here, of
yeah,
like it's going to be hard. Like I've heard plenty of stories of during the pandemic, women were doing OnlyFans while also having a professional career. And as soon as people in the office knew that you had a OnlyFans, like you were politely asked to like resign or something like that. And I think it would be really difficult. Like, I don't think there's like, I've been reading a story of like a teacher who in her younger years did like pornography. And when the students found it, it was like brought to the attention of the principal. And I think the teacher was like asked to resign, even though she had done
ooh,
it like 10 years prior, 15 years prior. Um, so situations like that, and once it's online, including this, right?
yeah,
To
very
like
true.
break the fourth wall.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I hear stuff like that because I think it is true. There is. I mean, I think it comes to stuff like that too. You don't manage it well enough, you could definitely lose it because there's like time when it comes to like you being youthful and stuff. When it comes to like expressing your body that way or showing your body that way, I always feel like people tend to have like a cutoff on that. Like, oh, okay, now you're 40. Never mind, you're not 20 something anymore. But kind of getting back into like, or I guess this is still kind of relevant to everything, but it makes me think of kind of like Dana. I saw a thing with Dana White before. He said this is probably the best time in like society. This is kind of like a quick interpretation of it, if I remember right. To be like a wolf or a lion, to really attack the world because there's so many lazy people today. Like this is probably the
Hmm,
best time to be uber
that's interesting.
aggressive. It was something along those lines, you know what I mean? To to really go after it because so few people are actually waking up every day, putting the grind in, putting the hustle in. So it's like the best time possibly in recent memory to be uber aggressive.
That's interesting. I like that. I mean, it definitely depends, and it definitely depends on like where that effort is being put. Because if you were
Mm-hmm.
to tell me that, be like, you need to be a monster on YouTube right now, and like you need to start creating YouTube videos. Like that's a saturated business for sure.
It
That's a
is.
very saturated. Like that's a tough market. Like social media, like you need to be aggressive on social media with videos of like cooking food or something like that. Like, and I'm trying to do that right now. That's a tough market because so many people doing it, right? Like, maybe it's a really good time to open up, automotive shop or something like that. Like a new take on it too, right? Like
Yeah.
some different business or like car detailing company or a different financial using AI to make help hedge bets or something. I don't know, but like something that is probably like realistically like produces a product that is tangible in some way or that isn't just like this consumable thing like a scrolling that isn't just this content of you know, a video, right? An image or something like that. Because I agree with you. I think a lot of people are spending their time and resources in something that has no like real value per se, but something that humans are geared towards. Otherwise, we wouldn't enjoy it as much as we do, right? Like we wouldn't ingest it as much as we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it isn't like, oh, society's sick or something like that. Like, I mean, we like the stuff that we like. That's the reason why we do it. That's why it exists, because like something inside of us is like, no, I like this. This is good, and yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry, tangents, but I agree with you. Now is definitely a time. And look, let it be known, out of the Fortune 500 companies, 50% of them were created during a recession, right? Not to say that we're in one right now. I'm just saying that like, there isn't like a particular time to do it, So
yeah, I guess it's like if you're gonna do it type mentality. There's never gonna be a right time to do anything, I guess. I mean, it's like when before you have kids, and everybody says that. Like, if you wait to have kids, there's never a right time to have them, I guess. But
I agree.
I would argue there kind of is, but maybe there isn't. I don't know.
Well, there's really only like, there's here's my take on it is you're only ready enough, right? And I know it's kind of cliche, but if you wait till you're older and you're more established, for sure, like maybe your health insurance is figured out and you and your partner are established and you have a house that you own and you've been making steady payments and you have cars and all this, that, and the other. But like maybe because of that, it's harder for you to like get out of the lifestyle that you have, or maybe you have like less energy. Maybe the commitments that you have to make with the child seem a little bit harder to do because you've been so accustomed to this other lifestyle. It's hard to kick it. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that are there, but
yeah, there is. And I guess you could apply that to starting a business, kind of the same thing. And I don't know, I haven't started one, but I'd imagine there's some similarities. And if you wait too long, are you going to have the energy to get up and go crank every single day? Sounds like what you're doing, going store to store, pushing your hot sauce, getting on the shelves. Like, that's not something you could possibly do at 60 years old. If one day you're just like, at 60, I know I want to start my business today.
Yeah,
that should have started 30 years ago.
I definitely don't feel like they would take me as serious. Let's say
they'd be like, "Look at this old man."
Yeah, they'd probably be like, "I feel like this guy's trying to scam us right now or something." It's definitely like a catch-22, because I think if I were to do it when I was 22, let's say, or something like that, they probably wouldn't have taken me serious either. So there's kind of like this happy medium, but once again, like you're only ready enough. And I think for me at this point, I felt like, look, I'm an older man, and I have a graduate degree, and I was a director at a nonprofit. Like, how much more experience? I was an accountant with the Clorox company. I've worked at a law firm. I've worked at Fortune 500 companies. I've worked for famous chefs. Like, how much more experience, or like, what is there, like a secret formula here that I feel like I need to do more time to know? And it's like, the answer is no. For me, the time just felt right, of like just kind of jumping off. Like, I'm only going to get older. It's only going to get harder as I get older. And if this thing ends up just kind of taking off and like really gaining traction, I'm sure the only regret I'm going to have is I really wish I started doing it sooner. And is it terrifying and panic fuel, nightmare fuel sometimes? Absolutely. Like, I'm for sure scared of failure, but I'm definitely scared of not trying more, and I'd rather fail in originality than succeed in imitation.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Herman Melville, Moby Dick.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah. But the sales calls to me are like the most fun that I have. I actually really enjoy the going to the like grocery stores or restaurants or marketplaces and just saying like, hey, I see you guys have some hot sauce, or maybe you don't have any hot sauce at all. Like, would you be interested in trying this one? And I think that, at least for me, what I've seen is that when they try the hot sauce, like when they have it, they're almost always like, oh, that's really good. I really like it. This is original or something I haven't had before. Like, I'd love to sell it. I'd love to have it, or we could just demo it. People just kind of try it with the breakfast sandwiches that we have here or something. And for me, I for sure live for, like, I am here for when they try it and they just light up. Like, that to me makes it all worth it. And I don't know if it's like a selfish thing or something, but I definitely come from the world of like, if I can make something that makes other people happy, I feel like I did a good job. Like, I for sure made an impact on your day today, and it was a positive thing, and like, right on. And if they're a customer after that, like, that's even better.
Hey, I gotta tell you too, it's freaking good. I actually ran out.
Okay, I'll send you another bottle.
Yeah, I used it pretty religiously there for a minute, man.
There's not a lot. I know it's only 5 ounces, and it does go kind of fast.
Well, if you're using it every day, like,
yeah,
because I was finding reasons to use it. So like, I made breakfast one night for dinner, and I put some on some eggs.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, man, this would be a good time to try it on some eggs.
Yeah.
So I put it on some eggs, and then I was like, man, you know what? I gotta make some like tacos or something so I can put it on
for
there.
Sure.
Put it on there. I mean, I put it a lot on eggs. I do like breakfast burritos sometimes.
Yeah.
So like,
that's exactly what it was meant. Yeah.
It's perfect, man. And then
when I
ran out. I was like, no.
When I was making it, I was probably demoing it the most with like breakfast sandwiches, like anything eggs, breakfast burritos. Like if it had bread and it had eggs and it had like sausage or bacon or something like that, I always did it with that. And I wanted to have something that like really gave this, like, it kind of brought out more flavors or complemented it better. And that's how I like ended up on that recipe. And I did a lot of marketing. I'd give it out to a lot of people. I'd give it out to like students, like my fellow cohort in my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, my graduate class. Like, it's throughout the year, I was giving it out to other students, like mailing it to them, and friends and family. And I have a Google Forms feedback that people would just leave their reviews on and be like, okay, like, do I need to increase the spice, put in some more onion, garlic, whatever it is. So I always, to this day, like, I still enjoy that. It's like such like a science nerdy part.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, even it's fun because I was looking at the like ingredients and stuff. I was like, man, how does one just come up with making the sauce? Like, I asked my wife, I was like, I wonder how that comes to be. Like, are you in the house and you're like just cutting some stuff up and blending it? Like, how is this? How did it come? How did it come to be?
That's a good, that's a really good question, because you're probably the first person that's asked me that. And I know that, like, all right, that's a great question, because I have a fantastic answer for this. And that is that, like, to make hot sauce is super simple. It's just 3 ingredients, right? It's peppers that presumably, to get like a umami flavor, like a different flavor, is you create a brine, which is water and salt. Maybe you add other spices. You could put garlic in there or something like that. And you put it in a pickle jar, and you have like a lactobacillus fermentation process that occurs for like at least 30 days. You need to do it for at least 30 days.
Oh, gosh.
You could do it for longer. In fact, every time you have Tabasco, here's a good plug for Tabasco. They ferment theirs for 3 years in oak caskets that are like from Kentucky, because they make a lot of like bourbon and whiskey in Kentucky, right? And so they're made in the oak caskets, and it's just a puree, because they globally source it. Once again, plug for Tabasco. They globally source their peppers from like Central America, South America, and then Louisiana itself. Because there's going to be differences in the peppers themselves, just from like soil complexity, humidity, temperatures, So in order to circumvent that, they puree all of them together so that it could have like a homogeneous pepper.
Okay.
Um, sorry, I felt like there was a kid crying there. I don't know if it's coming through. It's probably my daughter, youngest daughter. Uh, and then they put it in the casket, and then they do like what's called a salt cap. And the salt cap is just basically salt on top of for a lid, and it allows oxygen to escape but not come in. And once they're done, like after 3 years of aging it, they get the peppers, they put them in a vat, they mix it with vinegar, and that's it. So it's peppers, salt, vinegar. That's all Tabasco is. 3 ingredients. For me, when I have that, it's like it's just too vinegary. It has, and it's really runny. And look, that hot sauce has been around for over 100 years, so I'm not going to knock it. But I knew that if that's the base, and I kind of went with that, and I could replicate that by pickling it myself, by like pickling my own peppers. And I started to like, well, what if instead of using, you know, these peppers, I started using like Fresno peppers. Like instead of like red jalapenos, I did Fresnos. They're basically the same pepper, by the way. Can I start using different peppers? And then, I don't have like a wood casket. Can I start adding hickory chips or something like that, right? And I started experimenting with that. And at the end of it, it was like, I really want to have like a sauce that has a little bit more sweetness to it, but I don't want to add sugar.
Gotcha.
So what is something that's really sweet when I cook it? And it was like onions, right? I love onions. It's like top 2 vegetable, right? Is an onion. Root vegetable is an onion. Number 1 is a potato. I love potatoes. And what about bell peppers? Bell peppers are like super sweet when you roast them. So onions and bell peppers, they have a lot of sugars in them, and you could caramelize them. Okay, well, I guess I'm in the business of like caramelizing bell peppers and onions. Is there a way for me to do that to like really bring it out? I could smoke it. All right. Now I'm smoking bell peppers, I'm smoking onions, and like garlic needs to be in here too, because it needs some like some snappiness to it, And now I'm roasting garlic, But okay, I feel like it's missing some body. Tomatoes have a really good like body to it, a little bit more acidity, because it was kind of like missing some acidity. And definitely a lot of like trial and error. And I was kind of going back and forth with a lot of ingredients. Like instead of water, I did coffee, right? Because I felt like coffee had this boldness that would kind of come through. And then it became like, well, that's not really something that's a hard thing to do on scale, right? Okay, well, what about instant espresso powder, right? Because I like to bake too. And espresso powder is fantastic when you're making anything chocolate related, right? You need to add espresso powder. Like that's a pro tip right there. So like I started just changing the ingredients and just trial and error. Like, okay, it's not hot enough. Okay, do I need to add a different, like now I'm adding arbol chilies in there, and I'm adding like Pequin peppers in there. And finally at the end of it, it was habaneros. That if you know a habanero pepper, it really comes on later, which is what I wanted, because I don't like having a hot sauce. Like some hot sauce that exists out there are just like insanely hot from the go.
Yeah.
Right. They just burn your mouth, or they'll overpower the food. And I hate that too, because then I feel like I'm not really having the food. I'm just having hot sauce that has a different texture, And I didn't like that either. So habaneros, because it won't overpower the food. The heat comes on later, and I want to have sweetness that comes through with red bell peppers and onions. And I want to have this like kind of bite, spicy, like sharpness that comes from the garlic. And I want to have this deep base that I really like, and like uh, Latin hot sauces, which really comes from like tomatoes, like a vinegar or a very like acidic forward one, and ginger, because ginger is just like that little secret kind of bit in there. So that's a very long version of that story, but that's how the hot sauce came to be. And it was originally smoked, but now it's roasted because you can't really smoke on scale.
Oh, gotcha.
If you're trying to make 1,000 bottles at a time. So yeah, I got to roast it instead. They kind of go through like a flash oven, if you
The
will.
one thing that's super true with it, like you said, like the kick at the end of it is definitely there. I misjudged that the first time.
Yeah,
That like I smelt it, I was like, all right, this smells like, yeah, I got a little umph on it.
yeah,
But yeah, I took a bite. I was like, all right, like, that's good. I kept eating it. I was like, holy crap! Like,
yeah,
all right, starting to come on. I was like, it's starting to
yeah,
come on now a little bit. Like, damn,
yeah,
it sneaks up on you.
yeah. I would say that's still very much like a mild, at least, I think it's a mild hot sauce. A lot of the feedback that
Yeah,
I got is probably like a mild hot sauce. It's probably on the upper tier of it, though, of a mild hot sauce. I do think that like if you really dump it on and eat a lot of it, yeah, you're gonna be like, ooh, it's hot.
yeah.
Um, at the same time, like if you were to do that with Tabasco or Tapatio or Valentina, like you're gonna get a similar effect too. But
It's
that's
more
what I want.
flavorful. It's definitely
It
a more
is.
flavorful.
No powders. That was a big thing. Is I wanted to use like natural, whole ingredients, no preservatives, no additives, because you don't need it. Like realistically speaking, you don't need to add that stuff. Do I think that it would make a cheaper product, like as far as like cost to manufacture? Yeah, of course, absolutely. Like if I used onion powder instead of real onions, 100% it would be significantly lower, you know.
Mhm.
And if I just added sugar instead of roasting it, my time and cost to produce would be significantly less too, right? So, like, are shortcuts available? Of course. Does that necessarily mean that I think that it'd make a better product? To me, I don't think so.
Yeah. So kind of getting some background knowledge. I think everybody is that's going to listen to this on how this hot sauce game really works. Because
Yeah,
if you start off, I can see how that can be tempting to do. Like if you're like new like yourself, I'm sure other companies have actually done that. Where it's like, oh crap, we're starting to pick up. We're making 1,000 bottles. To say it's
yeah,
5,000 now, 10,000.
yeah,
Let's throw some sugar in there instead of roasting this or
yes,
that or whatever. So we can
right,
make more at a faster rate, cheaper, make more money.
yes.
So
It's like I'm not going to sit here and pretend it doesn't happen, like in general, just business, right?
yeah,
Um, or it is in a lucrative deal, right? I get it. I mean, we have a term for it, like generally speaking, it's called offshoring, right? And we do it quite a bit. America does. I get it.
yeah,
It cuts costs, and it ultimately it helps your bottom line, right? I get it. Do I think that that's something that I want to do? Like, no, it's not. It really isn't. I think that at the end of the day, to me personally, you get like an inferior product, or um, at best, you get like a run of the mill product. You know what I mean? Like, if
which there's plenty of when you do go to get like barbecue sauces specifically,
yes,
and you could probably grab. I've thought this before because I just bought some the other day. I was like looking at the barbecue sauce shelf, and I was just like, how different are these? You know,
yes,
like they're even kind of
precisely.
they're almost stored in the same bottles now. Like everybody has like the same light brown label with the
Yeah,
picture of them on there, the
and it's
same
like you
shape.
get a hickory smoked, you get a teriyaki or sweet and spicy one. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's
there's
like
they're all bait. One of them's called Memphis style. You know what I mean? Like, but like they're all, to me, they're all the same, and they're fighting over like labels at that point, right? They're just or name recognition, brand recognition. But there's no like real culture behind it, or like understanding behind it. And I'm sure there's some smarter businessman out there that says like, yeah, why? People are gonna buy it. What does it matter? I don't need to have a mascot and do advertising for this hot sauce or this barbecue sauce, because it doesn't really like translate, and like the ROI isn't there. I get
yeah,
that. I would rather, once again, fail in originality than succeed in imitation. Like, I don't want to just have a regular hot sauce that everyone's like, it's okay. Like, I want people to be like, shit, I've never had that before. And
Yeah,
it isn't like a gimmick. It's like it is a natural sweetness. It does have a heatness that comes through. It does like complement the dish, and um, yeah, I'd like in the bottle design too. Like, unfortunately, we're in a position where we're kind of forced to have like the basic generic bottle right now. We have some really great like sketches and designs we'd like to have, but it's like cost prohibitive at this point.
oh,
What? See, look, I'm running into that like issue. Where it would be a completely like bespoke bottle design. I don't want to kind of give it up right now until we're further in the process, but it's at this point, it's like, in order to produce it, it's like the bottle itself, if we were to sell it, would be like $20 a bottle, which nobody wants to buy. So, at some point you do have to kind of like play ball, right? And I'd
yeah.
rather give up design than the quality of the product.
Well, I think see it's one of those things too, though. Watching like 5 years, you can do one of those videos like when we started, and you show the
Yeah,
old label, and now you got
yeah, 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 yeah,
generation 2 of the label or 3. And you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
look where we are
Mark
now.
one, Mark two, Mark
Yeah,
three. Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is
I
cool
like that.
because you see people do that stuff all the time. Like, fuck man, who did it before? When I was following, a Ballast Point did that one time. They show like the original label for their Sculpin IPA,
Yeah,
and like how it's changed over the years. I'm like, oh, that's kind
yeah,
of cool to see. Like,
that is.
you started from your garage or whatever making your beer,
Yeah,
and now they got one of the more recognizable like beers, I guess, in the craft beer
yeah,
industry, and seeing
yeah,
how it's changed, like manifested you into what it is today. So that's what's kind of cool
yeah,
potentially for you. I think that would be something super awesome to see. I might have to
yeah.
hold on to an old school bottle then, be like, look, I've been
Yeah,
here from the beginning.
I'd say, yeah, the bottle that you have right now, if you still have it, and I'll send you another bottle tomorrow. Is the first edition production run for sure, and we sold quite a few cases now already. We've already had to restock one of our customers too, so they are moving, and I've only been doing it for actually like selling it for 40 days now. I have like a whole Excel sales uh, sheet here, but yeah, um, it's moving along. So once these bottles are done, though, we do have some revisions to the label already. So it is funny that you bring that up because the next label will be slightly different.
Oh, that's cool though. I mean, and so when you go into doing this, because like I think we talked about on the phone, I had a really good job.
Yeah,
Um, so I know we talked about but for people who are going to like listen to this, what was the switch that we kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, I think, but that moment where you're like, you know what, I got to just go all in. I mean, you got wife, you got kids, you got a mortgage, you got all these responsibilities, and it is a big gamble.
it
But I
is.
think but you're gambling on yourself, so that's kind of, is it a gamble? I guess if you're betting on yourself. I've told people that before. If I want to bet on myself, I know I'm going to get it done. Like if I'm going to, and I'm sure you have that same type of mindset. You're the best person to
Yeah,
bet on is you because you know who
yeah,
you are.
yeah.
So
I like that. That's really good self confidence,
yeah,
and I think it's great that you have that. I really do. I definitely have moments of like, oh man, don't fuck it up, for sure. You know, and moments of like, this is, yeah, was this a good idea? Um, but they're fleeting moments, and I do have a lot of faith in myself and my ability of like, I could be a pretty scrappy dude, and I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. And the biggest thing is just like having people try it. And I'm very fortunate where I legitimately do enjoy going out, talking to people and being like, yo, do you want to try some hot sauce? Now, sometimes it's 9:30 in the morning. They're like, no, I don't want to try hot sauce at 9:30 in the morning. Like, no, are you
That's when you
crazy?
pull out the breakfast burrito too.
Yeah,
Like, here, I
right.
brought this.
Yeah. They're like, sir, this is an Office Depot. But I think the big jumping off point was like, look, realistically, I have everything done here that I've been working on for the last couple of years. Like I have articles organization, I have a business bank account, I have like a business checking account, I have a credit card, I have California seller's permit, business license, I have my label done, I have a co-packager, I like price points, pro formas, like Excel spreadsheets, like what else more do I really need to do? And it's like, oh, well, you just actually need to go out there and make the sales. You need to go out there and like have people try the product. Could I have saved up a bigger nest egg? Of course, like it would have been great if I had investors too. They're like, oh, this is a really good product you have here. Like, here's $50,000. You hold on to this right here, and when you're ready to start your business, like here you go. Here's some cash. And if I had 10,000 followers on Instagram that have been waiting for the product, like for sure, absolutely, you would make selling the product so much easier and faster. Like there's so much things. Of course I could have done. Of course I could have done that. Of course I should have waited to do that, And I think just realistically, it isn't indicative of success. Google spent 60, because I like to do misdirection super quick. Google spent $60 million trying to create their own social media platform like 10 years ago. If you remember, it was like Google Plus or Google something. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Google Connect?
No, I don't remember hearing that, but damn, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, this is when you need Jamie. Your cat behind the computer.
Right? Yeah. Look that up.
Yeah,
I
look
wish.
that up real quick. Yeah.
Wish my cat can actually do that. That'd be cool.
Right. So sick. Like sometimes like having the money doesn't necessarily it isn't indicative of success. And if you call me a liar, like I would politely point you to all the venture capital firms that have lost, like the success rate is single digits for these startups that have these like high valuations, unicorns like WeWork and Theranos, right? Like it doesn't, and you could have some of the most amazing staff, just brilliant prodigy people. And even then it won't be enough. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So did I put myself in a bind? Yeah, of course, a little bit. Like I have a mortgage. I have 4 kids I need to support. I have a wife I need to support too, of course. Do I have faith in myself and my ability? 100%. And yeah, I'm going to take a chance on myself. But I also know that I have a great product. Is it going to be for everyone? I mean, I'd love for everyone to have it. Do I think that like everyone's going to enjoy it? Like, no. I mean, like, let's be real. Not everyone likes hot sauce. I've met a few of those people. But I think it's a super sick label. Like it's super slick, and it's a great, just a great American style hot sauce. And I am just trying to move the chains forward in any way that I can. Of like, I'm going to talk to grocery stores today, and I'm going to call up distributors. And like this weekend, I'm going to be at a Travis Air Force Base selling it. Right, like I'm going to be tabling it, having people sample it, and hopefully have it stocked at Air Force or military bases in general. But that's down the line. So it's it's definitely the direction I'm trying to go, and I'm a master of my own destiny. And it doesn't bother me putting 60 hours, 70 hours in a work week for myself than putting 40, 50 hours for somebody else where I'm just not happy doing it, Yeah. And there's no degree that I've ever gotten that's given me that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it like sounding like hearing how you're, boots on the ground and stuff like that. That's what makes it so cool, and I think different than like how most people do. Because I think a lot of folks do the social media stuff, and if it doesn't take off, they're like, "Oh, whatever. I tried on social media." But it's different when you're in front of people. Like, man, I saw Daniel that I had on a while ago, who's doing his coffee thing. He's doing pop-up tents and all that stuff. It's like one of those things. Is it fun to do? I'm sure there's times where it kind of maybe sucks to do, but at the same time, it's a different type of, I'd imagine, reward versus clocking in, putting all that time and effort into something that's not yours. Like, whether you have a good day or bad day, it's your business. It's you're putting the effort into something that belongs to you versus putting into somebody else's business.
Yeah. I completely understand. Well, for me at least, like I'll get a little bit of nervousness and talk, like coming in there and talking to a store manager at a grocery store, right? Something like that. Or it is disappointing sometimes where you go to a marketplace or retail shop and you're like, hey, I was wondering if you guys would like to carry the hot sauce. And they're like, hey, sorry, store manager isn't here. I could just take the sample or leave a card. Like in those moments, you're like, like, sure, absolutely. Like if you want to try it, like I give it to the employees all the time, cashiers, whatever. In those moments, like I'm happy. I hope that they try it or it goes to the manager and they both try it. Realistically, it probably won't go that far. And in those moments, it does get kind of frustrating for sure. But I still enjoy being able to be in the car, drive around, like have a mission, have a plan, like look at my notes. Like my wife and I will look at places that I want to go to that day and do some like intel, like do some research really quick of like, okay, who owns it? Who are the owners? Whatever. And, have a plan, execute a plan. Like I like those moments. Those are really fun. And even when they tell me no, it's like the most refreshing thing of like, there's nothing better than like like, like a slap in the face or like not interested. Thank you. And you're like, all right, right on. Thanks. Appreciate it. Like I needed that. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like it is a very humbling experience. So obviously I want everyone to try it and have it, but I'm not afraid of the no's at all. They're honestly like, it's better than a cup of coffee sometimes when they're like, yeah, not interested. No, thanks. You're like, all right. Yeah. I got that one done. All right. Moving on.
Yeah. I could see that being the case, like, that's what I do a lot of. I talk to like store managers and stuff like that. And that same type of deal happens.
Yeah.
And there is those moments especially when I first started at the place I'm at now, it's like, man, it's like a brand new, I've never done this type of stuff before, like a sales manager. So I'm like talking to them and they're like, who the hell is this guy? Like, it's like, all right, I'll come back and hopefully build up a relationship later or something, kind of put in the work to show.
Yes.
But I imagine it's like that in your, starting your business. Yeah, you got to know today, but they shop too. So if they go somewhere else and they're like, hey, what the hell? I saw this guy's bottle and he was trying to sell it to me. And look, he got like one left on the shelf or a handful left.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I never thought of that actually. I assume that you have a lot more success because it's a name brand. I have found that if I bring up other places that sell it though, where I'm like, well, you could find it at the Oxbow downtown or at the Ranch Market, it hasn't necessarily translated into like, oh, well, if they're carrying it, I'll carry it too. If anything, I feel like if they feel like it's an exclusive thing, like I haven't talked to anybody, nobody's selling it. They're like, well, I don't know if it's like, I feel sorry for this guy. I want to help him out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's that, but I feel like there's more pull if I don't tell them that it's being sold anywhere else yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that too. It makes sense. I mean, it's crazy. I can't imagine how intense and stressful it must be though at the same time. But like a lot of kudos to you to for doing it because like we were talking about earlier. I mean, I think a lot of people live with the regret of not doing things
Yeah,
in life in general, whether it's starting business or going traveling somewhere, doing something. And
getting their
it,
education.
yeah, you won't have that regret at least, or I'd hope not, when you look
Yeah,
back 30, 40 years from now, you're like, shit, whether it takes off, which I'm hoping it does, or, something happens, you have to change directions, go somewhere else.
yeah,
At least you
yeah,
could say, hey, I rolled the dice. I did it. You
yeah.
know, I think that's one of those sayings too. People say is like, "Oh, don't live a life of regret" or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but um, and that makes sense, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's worth attempting to do it. And I've seen a lot of lately. It seems like a lot more people are doing like the pop up tents. Like I said, it's veterans too. Like we are just at a fair this past weekend. Veteran
Mhm.
owned company out there with cookies. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Dang,
Like
nice.
you're out here putting the freaking work in. Where,
Yeah,
like I was saying earlier, maybe this is type of generation isn't the boots on the ground type of generation.
yeah,
Where that a lot of store managers and stuff like that, I imagine too, are a little bit older, so they probably appreciate that interaction more versus just a phone call or an email to them like, hey, here's my product. Can you put this on your shelf? There's
that's a
something to
good.
going in person.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's a really good point too, and yeah, maybe that's the reason why I've found success when I do talk to those people. Not everyone, like I said, um, but they always do seem to be a little bit more like they do gravitate towards it, and that's a very good point. Yeah, and the thing is that like I don't even know how original I am by coming up and just going to the checkout center, and be like, "Yeah, I was wondering if I could talk to the store manager," because I don't, like it's not like it's not like every place has store manager's name, or even if the manager's working this day, because
Yeah.
like today I went to a place where it's a married couple that owns the market, it's a small little private market. And I was like, hey, I was looking for the husband or the wife. They're like, the husband's here. Like, okay, great. Can I talk to him? I don't know how often that even happens. I don't know.
Uh,
And it's like they sell a lot of other hot sauces too. Are the other hot sauces that are there? Are they just sold through a distributor? I'm very much like what's called a 1PL uh, operation right now. Where like I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna sell it to you if you're interested, and if you are, like I have a case in my trunk. You know what I mean? And like when you run out, you just give me a call. I'm gonna come deliver it to you myself. Like like I like having those relationships with the grocery stores too. It doesn't bother me. Like I get to drive out here like through Napa Valley. Like it's beautiful. It's nice.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Gas is terrible, but like
Yeah.
that's just where I'm at right now. And um, in full transparency, like, is it gonna get hard? Like, I think there's just it's I think it's just gonna be like ups and downs like this, but like in the long run, it will eventually kind of.
Yeah, the ups and downs won't be as severe, or the downs
Yeah,
won't be as rough
yeah,
in the long term.
yeah, like exactly. Like when you look at it in the long, like there's, I'm sure there's going to be a customer that I love, and they're going to be like, hey, I'm sorry, it's just not working out. We're not selling it. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. So, um, I'm just trying to anticipate it, but, it's been a super fun journey so far, and nerve wracking. And, um, but yeah, like you said, I'm willing to bet on myself and take that chance. And
Yeah, I think you have to though. I mean, nobody else is going to do it for you. So
exactly,
it's one of those things you
exactly.
just got to do it yourself. And the relationship aspect of it is huge. And in sales, that's what I've learned in general. I mean, that's where that in-person interaction, I still think that goes a long way. I mean, I've been selling stuff for like 8 years now, construction stuff at one point, and
Yeah.
now freaking, yeah, Scott stuff. and a
Yeah.
lot of it is in person interaction. Like almost every place I've ever worked at where I've had to do sales, seems like I've always got more, I guess, information back, more acceptance or denials. I've had that happen in person too. They're like, oh no, we're not going to buy from you guys. I'm like, all right, well, hey, it came out. You told me in my face. Better than getting in an email where it sounds all snarky or something. But
Right.
yeah, there's something to that person to person exchange, that relationship that hopefully does get built over time. So when you do go into the store, they're like, oh shit, there's Cassidy with his sauce, man. Like, hey, what's up? How you doing? That's how you get shelf space. That's how you get
Yeah.
displays eventually and
Yes.
stuff, you know?
Yeah. 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 That's been a really big thing. And I think a good metric for me has been that they'll ask me, some of the grocery stores will ask me, like, hey, do you want to come in and demo? Like, do you want to come in? Like, we'll set you up like a little, like a bar table, and
Oh yeah.
just have like some chips and some bottles for people to try. And then they could find it in the aisle. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do that. Like, that sounds like a great day. Once again, like I'm not motivated of like, man, I have to churn and like sell bottles. It's like, no, I want to talk to the customers and have them try it and like, oh, this is really good. Like, that's fantastic. I'm super stoked to hear that. You know what I mean? And like, you can find it at aisle 6.
I guess it'd be fun to say too, I'd
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like that part. I think I probably enjoy talking to people too much.
That's not a bad thing. I think a lot of people don't do that enough, to be
Yeah,
honest, anymore.
yeah,
I think a lot of people shy away from talking to people because of possibly being denied or having a negative interaction. So
yeah,
it's easier to not have those those reactions by just avoiding it altogether.
yeah, yeah. Be comfortable with like humility and denial. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Like, it is okay. Like, as long as it's not like, if your fear is, oh, they might say no,
Mhm.
as Wayne Gretzky has said and quoted 1,000 times. Like, it's better to you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like, yeah, well, I guarantee it's a no if you don't say anything. Or
Yeah,
ask anything.
yeah, you're not going to get any shelf space, or you're not going to get
Yeah,
asked to do a
yeah,
sampling on a weekend or something if
exactly,
you don't go and try.
exactly.
And I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
what.
where a lot of businesses, I bet, fail because of stuff like that. They're afraid, whether it's a good thing, product or not. Like they get to that point where you do have to interact, and it's
Yeah, where the
intimidating.
social media doesn't,
Yeah,
take you as far as you thought it is. I'm definitely not in a position, but I hope one day I can, where I could hire somebody, or somebody would be interested in doing the social media component, because I'm terrible at it and I don't like it. But
yeah, it sucks. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah,
I feel
um,
you on that one.
uh, if you can't go out and sell your product to a person, maybe you're not in the business you should be in, because like you said, it is a person. Sorry, business is still person to person. I understand at some point people are going to look at numbers, though, to an extent. But even if you have a really good product, you have to be able. Like, I have, as you can tell, all these cases in the back, and they are not going to move unless I go out and talk to people. And I don't know, call me, fortunate, but it is something that, like, through the years, I enjoy doing it. I think it's fun, or at least it can be. I have some story about something with everyone, of like, I could talk to most people about something, entertain them, or they'll entertain me. And
Yeah,
and it definitely makes the job easier, uh, when you yourself stand by the product, right? Like, it doesn't. I don't even think it has to be your product per se. Like, it'd be pretty easy to sell a cancer-free pill to anyone, like, this is a great product. I'm telling you, I love this product. You should buy this product. Here's
yeah,
why. You know, like, if you have that, if you stand behind your product, for sure, 100%.
yeah. I mean, that's some of it too, with the fear of interaction in person. if you're not
Mhm.
100% behind it. Excuse me. You have that fear of like, man, they're going to see right through me. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really know if it works or if it's good. And they're going to be like, well, have you tried it? What do you know about it? And you're going to,
Yeah.
all that stuff is super intimidating. I mean, I've gone through that stage as well where when I first started in construction, I was brand new. I don't know what the hell I'm selling. I don't know what this crap is.
Yeah.
But I think that's how it is for most people. But once you find your groove, and if you stand behind it, like you said, I mean, you'll be fine. I feel like
Yeah.
in most cases, or more often than not.
Yeah. It was don't get me wrong, like it was definitely a little and it still can be a little touch and go. Like anytime I give it out for people to try it, there is a little bit of like hesitation of like, oh no, what if they don't like it? That for sure comes through. But the first day that I started selling it, I sold on a Friday, May 5th. That day I sold 36 bottles to three different locations day one. And it was like, they tried it. They're like, I love it. I'd love to buy a case. I was like, rock on, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, it was fantastic. It was such a good, like, just weather vane or, metric for, the product itself. And I think it speaks for itself. And, yeah, it's for me, it's like, obviously, like I made it from start to finish, like, so I know everything about it and can talk to whoever like intelligently enough about it. So, but there is always a little bit of hesitation of like, oh no, what if they don't like it? And then you're like,
Mhm.
oh, oh,
Well, yeah, because I'm sure you want that some validity to start, going on this venture too. It's
yeah,
whether I'm sure you'd want that kind of immediate seal just to know, like, hey, I'm rolling the dice and it's working. Like,
yes, yeah, and I have had some no's already. Like in transparency, this isn't not everything is this not like this whole thing is a cakewalk here. There's a grocery store here in town that I really wanted them to carry. I really liked them, like on a personal stance. It's probably one of my favorite grocery stores. And when I was making the hot sauce, it's where I would get the groceries all the time because they were the closest, you know. And like I had the entire meat department taste the hot sauce through the years, and the Checkers themselves. Like I was on first name basis with the Checkers, right? And I talked to the store manager, and I was like, "Hey," I told him the whole story. I was like, "Look, I've had I know most of the people here. Like, I'd love for you guys to carry it." And he was like, "Let me get back to you in a week." And he thought the price was too high. And he's like, "Honestly, we don't really move hot sauce a lot here as it is. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not really interested in it." And he's like, "I don't like myself. I particularly don't really like. It's just not my kind of hot sauce, right?" And that was for sure like a gut check of like, you're like, what am I, once again, like you question your reality and you're like, oh no. Yeah. So, but he's the only one. He's been the only one. And
oh
there's been
man,
plenty of other people. Like today I got an email of another it's like a brewery coffee shop, and they're like, it was an astounding yes from the
damn.
team. Yeah. So those are like high points for sure.
So it sounds like this one guy at the store is just an
He
outlier.
might be an outlier. Yeah, he most likely is an outlier. A lot of people like the most common feedback, like if it is a no, where they're like, "Hey, I'm sorry." Like I got it. I got another one today where they're like, "Hey, look, tried it, loved it, but the label itself isn't really like aesthetically aligned with the other stuff that we are selling here because it's like a small little boutique marketplace because it's Napa. Napa's got some bougie stuff,
Mm.
and they sell wine and honey and everything is kind of like old English and cursive and these really nice type fonts and stuff, and mine's
And
got a
mason jars and stuff
yeah,
popping.
exactly, yeah. And like mine is a consumer packaged good and it's got a fucking jet on it. It's called Mach 1, and like it's got flames, and yeah, it's just not. It's going to stick out too much there, right? And it's like, hey, totally understand. I'm happy that you guys liked it. You know, to me, like that's the biggest thing. Like I'll choose once again, like I will choose a product over a design, like that, or the quality of the product. Like people enjoy the product, and if anybody disagrees with me, like I politely bring up uh Craigslist. You know, like functionality over form for sure.
Yeah, because it's not the prettiest site. I mean, I
It's
haven't been on
not.
Craigslist in forever, but I mean,
It's still around.
it. Oh, it is. Wow,
Oh yeah, people
it
use
was super
Craigslist.
easy to like look at cars. I bought my first car off there. Actually, I bought a used
Yeah,
car.
through the years, and it
I was like, hey, it worked.
and there's like no revision, right? Like they haven't changed the format. It's not being monetized. Like the point, and that actually comes from this marketing class that I took. Is that like honestly, when you're prioritizing things, you need to prioritize function over form. And I think some people can get lost in the form, like, oh, it needs to look just so. And like, you know, maybe for an art piece or something, I get that for sure. But if you're trying to sell a product to a person, like you need to be like, it isn't just smoke and mirrors. You know, it's a quality product, and that's what we we wanted to put all of our emphasis in there and that part. And then for sure, we wanted to catch your attention, and we love jets and avionics and engineering, and that's what we called it Mach 1.
Yeah, it's that old saying too, like don't judge a book by its cover, in a
Yeah,
sense too, you know.
yeah,
But I mean, it makes it's a. I could see like both sides of it, I guess, you know, as like a consumer, because there are certain things that pop out. You're like, oh man, but that doesn't necessarily make me ever want to try things. Like I'm pretty, you know, the older I've gotten, I guess I'm a little bit more picky on what I get. Like I was
yeah,
saying with the barbecue sauce, like I look for the one that's different than everybody else now, because like you all look the same. So what's the one that's doing something different than all of you? Because
yeah,
it's all the same brown label, same jar, same everything, same face, same sauce. What's the one that's like, I'm
yeah.
fucking turning this shit upside down. I'm going like bright colors. You got some crazy ass name on it. I'm like, all right,
Right.
I'll give you a shot. You know, let's see.
Yeah,
You're bold enough to stand out from the rest of the crowd,
yeah.
like you said,
Now
the
I like
imitation.
that. I love that. Now, hopefully, when you try it though, you're like, okay, like it's one of those like I came for the crazy, wacky, whatever it is, but damn it, I'm staying around because like that's a good fucking product.
That's why that's the hope for me is like if I'm buying it and I'm taking a chance, if they're crazy enough to stand out like that, I'm hoping that it's fucking good. Like you got to be bold too to do that as a business or an owner. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping that that sauce or whatever it is
yeah. You don't want to be a
that much
gimmick.
better. Yeah,
Yeah. And that was definitely one thing I don't want to be is just a gimmick. And I think that there are other brands that are out there. I won't say any that you know who, but I think there are definitely brands that are just out there for like the recognition, you know, or like, oh well, I'm the one that did this, and you're like, cool, but like, does that translate into like repeat customers, like people that are like really invested in it? And I don't ever want to compete in that world. I don't want to be like a flash in the pan. You know, I'd
yeah,
rather be more consistent with the customers and like, you know, did you like it? Like, are you interested in other products? Because we have other products that, you know, you also might really like, and just kind of really create like a culture around it and create a just a bunch of people that are kind of like willing to take a chance on a different style of hot sauce for sure.
yeah. Well, I hope it succeeds, man. I'm really, you know, pulling for you. And
Appreciate it.
well, it's just cool, man. I kudos to you for like having like the courage to like actually go forward with it, have a good job, and then leave it. And you know, I know that sounds crazy. Like saying out
No, I
loud sounds
know.
crazy,
Yeah.
but like having the, you know, yeah, the courage to do it because not a lot of people do. And that's I know we've talked about that before. You know, it's easy to play it safe
Yeah.
when it comes to yeah, you got the good job,
Yes.
your kids are
Yeah.
fine, your wife's fine, lights are okay,
Yeah.
food's on the table all the time,
Yeah.
but is it fulfilling?
Yeah.
You know, that's at some point, I guess you have to look yourself in the mirror and actually make the change. So good for you
Yeah.
to do that. I mean,
Appreciate it.
I mean, a lot of people don't. Hopefully, whatever it is, you know, there's times where I hope I can find something I'm really passionate about to do like that. But that's what's kind of cool. Like talking to you and Daniel, that I have talked to, my go-to coffee guy now.
Yeah.
Like, man, to be able to say, "Fuck it, let's do it. Let's go all in. Push all your chips on the table and roll the dice on yourself," is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Step one, stop caring what other people think.
Which is hard for people to do.
Yeah, that's step one. Because no, they're gonna look at you sideways and they're gonna be like, "Ooh, boy, I
Yeah.
can't believe you just did that."
I'm sure you've had people tell you that too. They're
Yes.
like, "Look
Oh
at
yeah.
Cassie." You're like, "What the hell are
Yeah.
you doing, dude?"
Yeah.
Like,
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And there's plenty of people from friends from business school, and some of them are, I think, real friends are like, hey, I support this 100%. This is the reason why we went. And other ones are like, there with the popcorn, and they're like, I'm here for the train wreck. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm projecting, right? Maybe I'm projecting, but it's just a vibe. Some of them you're
hey,
like,
you need to have the haters though. You know,
yeah, yeah,
like you said, not everybody can be on board, so you need the haters.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
sometimes that kind of you need that hate to fuel the drive a little bit
Yeah,
more.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I know who I am and my ability, and like I'm not going to take this lying down. And uh, it's it's definitely taken a long time to get here, right? Like I said, I did a lot of the stuff for the last 3 or 4 years of just even understanding hot sauce, right, and
Yeah, the way
testing it.
from what you've said, how you even made it is not the easiest way to make it, from what it sounds
No,
like. So,
yeah, through the iterations. Like I said, I have a book. Oh, it's upstairs. I probably made like 50 different recipes of this before, like Mark 50, before I finally got like, okay, I think this is the winning formula, and gave it out. And it could be like small iterations of like, instead of 10 grams of salt, I think it should be 15.
and do you
Always
have
weigh your.
other ones saved up for like
Yeah,
future
yeah,
ones where you're like, okay, this one
yeah,
was really good.
yeah, yeah. I actually, so we have two more in R&D right now.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
Mach 2 and a Mach 3. And I don't want to, waste a lot of your time, but I was able to kind of leverage of like, basically, I think these proportions are like the golden proportions, right? Like X amount of this and X amount of this and X amount of this. And kind of trying to create like a modular design of like, okay, if my proportions can stay the same, well, maybe all I need to do is just change other aspects, and it's going to create a different flavor profile. Um, but it could still like leverage the like Mach 1 brand. So, what does that mean? The Mach 2 is modeled after the F-22 Raptor, which has like an indium oxide tin coating on the canopy of the jet. So it looks gold, right? Like a yellow, sparkly gold. And I dig it. I love it. I think it's like a super sexy aircraft. And it's the only aircraft, the only fighter jet that America has that goes above Mach 2, right? So we're like, that's it. That's our Mach 2. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make a hot sauce around that, right? And it's like our inspiration came from the jets. We're like, okay, how can we make a yellow hot sauce that is the same color of the canopy? So instead of like red bell peppers, we used yellow bell peppers and we roasted them. And instead of like ginger, we also added turmeric. Instead of tomatoes, we wanted to add carrots, because carrots can also be really sweet, but they also have a body, right? And that's what we were going for with the tomatoes. So like changing, right?
Mm.
Just different things. Instead of apple cider vinegar, we did champagne vinegar, right? And so the proportions are more or less the same, give or take. There are changes in proportions, but just I'm trying to say like the ingredients change as well. But then we ended up with like this yellow, kind of vibrant yellow hot sauce that I personally feel like is everyone's favorite hot sauce. Like between the Mach 1 and the Mach 2, everyone loves the Mach 2 more. And it's kind of
Okay.
sad when I say that out loud, but um, I don't know. We just knocked it out of the park with that one. I think it's honestly the carrots, but um, and it's hotter too, right? We wanted it to be a hotter hot sauce. So it has golden cayennes in it and it has habaneros. And then we did the Mach 3, similar thing, but we use like ghost peppers in that
Oh
one.
shit. Okay.
Yeah. And we wanted it to be black after the SR-71 Blackbird. Like, and I don't want to go into the stories with that one, but like I beta tested that one so many times of like, how do I get a black hot sauce? Because there isn't a black hot sauce out there, right? Like, can I create a black hot sauce that is a hot sauce that people just haven't had before? Like trying to play on people's perceptions of things because it'd be super sick to have that. Like, it just doesn't exist out there.
On the
Um,
shelf, that would look wicked. Like you'd have
it
your
would look
red,
pretty
yellow,
different.
and
Yeah.
black if you had them
Yeah.
all next to each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. And you'd have like the Bell X one, and then you have an F-22 Raptor, and you have a Blackbird, the SR-71 Blackbird. Like, nobody's doing that. I think it would be super sick. It's going to get your attention. And then, like, the product itself is honestly really good. Um, so the R&D on the Blackbird probably took the longest, and even now I'm still not like completely satisfied with it because I use squid ink, which had the best result. Oh, for sure. Squid ink. But like squid ink is like cost prohibitive on a mass scale. It's just too expensive. It also imparts too much of like a umami seafood taste, believe it or not.
Oh
And
wow.
also it wouldn't make it like vegan or vegetarian, which isn't really like my demographic per se, but it would it also creates complications on shelf life stability, right? So like, okay, squid ink had the best result on changing the color, but it's like kind of like the hardest one, right?
Mm.
Um, activated charcoal, probably the best choice because it doesn't impart a flavor, but it does impart a coloring. But activated charcoal is not FDA approved. Okay, coffee, instant espresso, uh, Ulfa peppers, tamarind paste, like blackberries. You know what I mean? Like,
Damn.
just tried so many different iterations, so many different times. And at the end, I do feel like we have a pretty good product, but it's really more of like a deep crimson red than it is a black, right? Almost like it's like, I mean, at some point in time, we've all done coloring things. If you mix all the colors together, you really get a brown, then you do a black. So it's kind of one of those situations.
Man. Well, shoot, man. I can't wait to see it all. Like that's what
Yeah.
I'm excited for. I can't wait to see exactly where you are in this year and going into next year. Because I love the sauce. I've had it. The whole bottle's gone. Like I said already, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The Mach 2 sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's got a little bit more umph, I'll take that too any day. I cannot wait to like go to a store and see this stuff because that
100%, dude.
man. If I ever do see it in a store, I'm gonna flip out. I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
make a
No,
video. Look.
yeah. It's going to happen, dude. It is going to happen. Trust me. It's going to happen. It's going to take time. It's definitely not going to be done today, tomorrow, next week, next month, but it will happen.
And it's nice to see another veteran, kicking ass, doing their thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to root for. You're easy to root for. You're easy. You're an easy person to root for.
Dude, too generous.
So, but yeah, thank you again. I know we've been trying to get this scheduled for a while, so I'm happy we finally got it kind of in the books. And
yeah,
appreciate you coming back on.
Yeah, dude. Anytime. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy talking to you. I think that we have a good banter and like-minded kind of outlook. So
yeah, I think so. I mean, when we talked on the phone and even just shooting the shit like this and getting to figure out exactly what's behind the product and all the work you put into it. I think a lot of people are going to find it relatable, to be honest. And I hope that folks get excited for you, and then when they see it, they buy it.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
So yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time again. Anytime, hopefully a couple of years we jump back on this thing and be like, holy crap, look at you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be even better.
Yeah. I promise it'll happen. Travis,
hopefully have some merch by then too, man. I want a shirt whenever that happens.
Yeah.
Well,